Hello, everybody. Happy New Year's Eve. Savage Brewski here. I am resurrecting my podcast. I hope you're all doing very well. I basically just wanted to get this going to let you guys know that, yes, I am going to resurrect the podcast. I'm probably not going to do a big guest deal. From time to time, yeah, I will. But this is just going to be me doing a little fireside chat style talk throughout the year, basically. I'll probably try to do one a week. And it'll be news, it'll be this, it'll be that. Ramblings on current events or something. But for today, for New Year's, I just wanted to get something going. And I basically put out a call on X, on Instagram, on Discord to my various friends. And I just wanted to go, cool. What do you guys want help with? And I got a few different responses, so I'm going to dive right in. This is the Savage Brewski podcast. I am going to have this up on Rumble, on YouTube. I am trying Podbean. We'll see how that works. Don't really know. We'll give it a whirl here. So, all right. Kicking this off, my very first response was from Dundermoose. Dundermoose is one of my TTRPG bros. Games writer, games player. Very, very cool dude. And so he says, let's start with Battletech. Why does it call so deeply to me? What is the masculine urge to climb a towering robot and lumber it about, shooting spaghetti missiles? How does a mech game pay off on that promise, and how can I judge if it's a good one? Well, Dunder, my boy. Okay, I'm just going to give you a quick background here. I've been into MechWarrior and Battletech since the mid-90s. I came about it kind of, ass backwards because I had a friend in the neighborhood who played MechWarrior 3, which was a PC game at the time. And I literally thought MechWarrior and Battletech were two different things. I was that dumb when I first started. So I picked up some books in terrible order. I literally started fictionally like midway through the lore, which was horrible for me because I knew nothing about what was going on. I didn't understand anything. I had to slowly piece it all together. Then I realized it was actually a tabletop game, and by then I was already playing Warhammer. So, short version is, why does it call so deeply to you? I don't know, dude. You have 20 to 100-ton war machines with the most advanced and sophisticated technology mankind has to offer, going at it in head-to-head slugfests to determine the fate of the galaxy as we know it. And if you refuse someone's bachal, you'll know exactly why that's a bad thing. Anyway, I don't know. Big stompy robots has always been a thing. I think, in the 80s and 90s, we had Robot Jocks and Robot Wars, which are obviously very, very cool. We had Transformers, which kind of was giant robots. We had Exo Squad. I know that was 90s, so Battletech really did come before that. But still, it is its own thing. You really do have a different type of warfare. You have a different type of fiction. And if I can be so straight about the fiction for a minute, it was really well written at the time. I think the early trilogies, the Warrior trilogy, the Blood of Kerensky trilogy, you can pick those up and you have a good, almost space opera, big shooty robot story with believable characters, workable plots. None of this modern day stuff where everything is just kind of like, oh, it needed to happen because the plot needed blah. Well, no. It's actually well done. It's actually well written. You have great authors like Michael Stackpole, Blaine Lee Pardo. I want to say Robert Thurston did some. I'm trying to rack my brains on everybody who was writing and sort of was in the FASA stable of writers at the time, but those are the three that comes to mind. And it really did well. How does a mech game pay off on that promise, and how can I judge if it's a good one? The short version is, does it have too many or too few mechanics? And can you get in without paying an arm and a leg? I've played a couple different games. I've played Cav Strike Ops. I checked out Tech Commander, JP Got Rockets, and Sea Dog Studios. I may be butchering the name there. have a really good combined arms game called Tech Commander. And it basically is Mech Warrior with the additions of more vehicles, more infantry. It's more of a combined arms approach. Battletech does that as well. It's just a little differently approached, differently done. Cav Strike Ops, I could not totally give credence to because the lore basically was vampires, elves, orcs, and something else in space. Everybody has giant stompy robots. And it was just a little too much. And the styles and the differences between the factions and everything was a little... It's a simpler game, and I'm being nitpicky. I don't think it would do badly. You can definitely play that a lot cheaper and a lot easier than maybe Battletech, but it still was a bit much for me. I would have liked to get into the factions and everything, and it just wasn't totally there. Battletech, I think you're going to find is the good all-rounder, because the mechanics are not overly heavy. You know, you have Gator, gunnery, attacker, target, other, resolve. I forget exactly what that all stands for. I just know it's the shooting. It's the basic formula of shooting mechanics. You have heat, you have ammo, you have everything trackable on a sheet that hopefully is laminated in dry erase if you've really done the job. It's very replayable. It's terrain friendly. You literally can just print out maps. My friend... Victor, Arden Blade on X, makes a lot of maps, makes STLs for mechs. You're going to find a lot of hate towards Catalyst Game Labs, which is the current steward or holder of the IP for Tops, I believe. And they are fictionally and otherwise going out of their way to introduce a lot of woke and stuff, and it's just become kind of stupid. So a lot of guys would rather just play classic Battletech using STLs or old metal models than buy into the new stuff. Whatever. I don't really care. Do it or don't. Who cares? But that's the basic gist of it. Battletech is probably your good measuring stick for middle ground or workable. And from there, as you try different things, you'll find they either fly or don't. You really can't go wrong with Battletech as it is. I think enjoy it. Battletech Gothic, if you pick that up, I don't think you're going to love that because they're just kind of shoehorning the setting into something it was never really intended for, and I don't think they're ever really going to flesh out. So whatever. Just play Battletech, play some games. I do recommend getting into the old novels. Pick up, like I said, pick up Blood of Kerensky trilogy, Warrior trilogy. That'll give you a good introduction. Warrior first, that's earlier. Go that route. And I think you'll really enjoy the setting and the lore and really get something to sink your teeth into that way. So good question, Dunder. I hope that helps you out there. Moving on. I had some of the boys on Discord pipe up. JP got rockets. What is the airspeed velocity of a fully laden swallow? We'll need for both African and European swallows. The other question is, what is the total cubic volume of the Caspian Sea? To which I simply responded, God damn it. Moving on. Love you, JP, but moving on. War God Wargaming, Jeremy. How do you get out of a hobby rut? I've been meaning to film a battle report, but always use the excuse that my daughter won't join instead of just sucking it up and playing solo, which truly isn't as fun. Good question. So, first off, there's a couple questions like this about motivation ruts. How do I get myself motivated? How do I get moving? I'm still going to answer them all individually because they're each a little different. So the first thing to keep in mind is, and I love Mini Wargamer Dave's approach here of just move, is you just have to get busy. And you have to stop trying to have something be perfect or, waiting until you're in the mood. Mood is a thing for cattle and love, young pup. Mood is not for fighting. You just have to get moving and just do something. And if you want to film a battle report, even if you're playing solo, kind of like I did with that one-page rules thing, well, do it. And get it up. Get it out on YouTube and Rumble and just get it done. If you want motivation, well, good. Why do you want to do a battle report in the first place? Just ask yourself the question and bother to answer it. Why do you want to do that? What is the point? You can get out of anything you're stuck in if you rekindle the purpose of why you're doing it. That sounds very general and broad sweeping, but it's actually one of those mechanical facts of life. that anyone could use anywhere. You rekindle the purpose behind why you're doing that thing. And the stops will disappear. The things in the way, the barriers, the holdups, I don't feel like it, goes. If you want to film a battle report, cool. Why did you want to do that? What was the point? Were you going to do a campaign? Were you going to make that your regular content? Whatever it was, pour the coals on that and go do it. And I think you'll find that works out pretty well. If you want to hash this out, if any of you want to hash this out further, by the way, or if anyone listening that doesn't talk to me or doesn't really know me, if you want to hunt me down on X or Discord or something and just, drop me a line. I'm probably not going to do all Q&A podcasts, but I will happily help anybody out with any problem like that. So just please lay it on me. All right, workout. There you go. Okay, Patty of the Parlor. Patty's Parlor Games. Another big PP bro here. Patty and I go way back in the War Machine days. Big supporter of my channel. I try to support his. He's on X, he's on Discord, he's on Rumble. He is definitely one of the guys leading the charge for Tabletop Rumble. If you check him out nowhere else, please go to Rumble. He'll definitely appreciate that. Patty's Parlor Games. Patty says, what are your industry predictions for the year? Do you think more people will adopt 3D printing, or do you think people will shift back to buying boxed products? Both. Why? 3D printing is being picked up as more and more of a mainstream hobby. My cousins-in-law were picking my brain when they found out I had a 3D printer. They wanted to see it. They wanted to see what I could make. I literally got them as a family into Dungeons and Dragons at the local game store, and they started looking at minis and what they can do with that. So I think it really is becoming a more approachable thing. At the same time, guys we know and love are going to keep making box sets, WotC for Dungeons and Dragons, CGL for Battletech, Warhammer is obviously a thing, War Machine, now that Steamforged has picked it up, hopefully they do something with Warcaster, that would be nice. But they're obviously going to keep doing box products because that's not a dead industry. If anything, given things like Amazon and shopping online, it's more accessible. Think back 20, 30 years ago where you had to go to a physical store that carried the thing you wanted to get the products. You could not just, order a box of miniatures if it wasn't right in front of you or if you didn't have a catalog for it. Obviously, some things could be done by mail, but it wasn't done to the degree that you just Amazon things now these days. Or go on eBay for secondhand stuff. So I think you're going to see both. I think the revenue is there for the companies that do it. Case in point, Corvus Belli and Infinity. They're doing, they've been doing a new edition this year, and I have yet to see a store that physically carries their products. Maybe that's just where I am, but everything's online. So I just think it's gonna continue to be a thing until it's really unworkable to ship product or make product. Obviously, there's companies that are entirely 3D print STL based. One Page Rules among them. Obviously, they're getting into a box set. They released Broken Truth. That's new for them, and they've been around for, a decade? More? All as downloadable STL files. Okay, well, obviously they're going the other direction then. They're getting into boxed and mainstream stuff. So I think that you're going to see both carry on. Other predictions, someone had written that probably all the newfangled Dungeons and Dragons stuff is going to simmer down a little bit. We're probably not going to see as much noise out of Daggerheart and the Critical Role gang. I don't know about that, really. I think it's kind of weird how they basically just employed a bunch of WotC's former stable of creatives and devs. And I don't know exactly how you're going to have a unique and individual game when you basically just hired out, the guys that got canned from WotC. I don't really know what to look for there. Obviously, it's the indie crowd is a different deal. Obviously, we know oodles of people that are writing new games and making new content. And I'm talking Blacklight, I'm talking Shadow Dark, I'm talking Castles and Crusades. There's room for all this. The Red Room. There's plenty of room to make new product. These guys aren't going to stop. If anything, they're just going to keep going. So I think you're just going to see a lot more games. You're going to see a lot more releases, but I don't think one bit or another is going to particularly overtake the other one. I think it's just going to keep going. So yeah. All right, bit of another, intellectual here. Jack McCarthy over on Discord. Jack is a good friend. We were in Gobstein together. He was the game master running the show. We did this whole Bronstein style charity game for St. Jude's early this year, 2025. And he was running the show. Jack says, how do I get these women to lay off me? Day in, day out, they're in my yard, sitting on my porch, hiding in my closet. It's not that this is a new problem for me. It's just been particularly bad recently. Well, I got a couple solutions, none of which you're going to do because, come on, you're you. One would be, my bro, get a haircut, shave the beard. I'm sure they will leave because all interest will just go to truthful, minimal levels, and all the hangers-on that are not the wifey will just kind of poof, vanish. It's the beard of power. Come on, man, you know that. Two, along the lines of you may fascinate a woman by giving her a piece of cheese. I mean, I would just get really sly and give them something to do. Just say, hey, isn't there a sale on at Lululemon? I heard Labubus are 50% off. There's a new yoga class in the park. Something. You could basically just throw something out there and they'd probably find something to do. Anyway, I'm being a total smartass, by the way. This is not legitimate. I don't know, dude. I that's a good problem to have, Jack. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, dude, Happy New Year to you. Hope you're all good. Hope you don't, hope you ain't got no problems. Moving on to the world of Instagram. I was surprised because Insta is where I get least feedback typically. I do not have the same kind of responses I do on X, on Discord. But I had a lot of questions here. So, Dracoya Minis. Dracoya is on YouTube. I think it's Dracoya and the Pickled Dragon is the channel name. I could totally get that wrong. Dracoya is on Insta under Dracoya Minis. She also is a big seller of Chimera paints and products. So if you're looking to get your hands on those, or if you want some miniature busts, she does really good quality busts that you can buy and then paint up yourself. Dracoya.com, I believe, is the website. You can just Google it. You will definitely find her out there. Just Google Dracoya and Chimera, Kimera. You'll find her. She asks... she wanted help with player engagement in Dungeons and Dragons, and clarifying with her, she basically said it's kind of like with her players, some of them get more involved, some of them get more engaged than the others, and it's kind of a killjoy for the rest. So how do I do that, or how do I increase that? Well, there's a couple ways to look at that. One, if you're DMing, then you obviously have power to not delegate, but kind of choose in some instances what characters or what players are going to deal with certain things outside of their control. Like, obviously, they can choose where they're going to go, if they're going to fight or solve a puzzle or this or that, how they respond to threats and problems. They obviously have a lot of choice there. But if you have guys who are basically just being like wallflowers, you could always be like, okay, wallflower number one. A tavern wench appears before you and throws a wadded up piece of parchment, which appears to be a map. What do you do? In other words, throw them a situation to go handle and watch what they do. You're basically just, okay, cool. This thing happened to you. What are you going to do about it? The other thing that comes to mind is reward the players. If you have a dungeon crawl and, 2 or 3 players are actually checking out puzzles, actually want to go check out all the other rooms, actually want to try and find that extra bit of treasure that someone said might have been in that dungeon. Well, cool. That's who gets the treasure. Make it so on finding they're attuned. They can't just hand it off to the guy who dragged himself along for shiggles. That may be a little harsh, but I just don't believe in rewarding the non-producer, basically. I don't think you should be there for those guys if they're literally just like, yeah, I showed up just cuz or whatever. Like, okay, they can shuffle off. You want people who are going to play the game and do it, with some pizzazz, that actually want to be there. Reward those players. It doesn't sound like you're losing too much if these other guys just, take a season off or something. That's what it sounds like. But how to get them engaged? Like I said, throw them situations, throw them problems, see what they do. If they don't shape up, if they don't really snap to and start playing and really getting involved, well, okay, you can't do that. My sister is fond of saying you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them think. And that's kind of where you're at. It just comes down to, are they going to step up and do something, or are they, as a personality or as a player, are they just really not interested? You don't know. Those are the two ways that I would go about that. So hopefully that helps. And shameless plugs. Go see Dracoia.com if you want paint supplies, minis, paints, brushes. I know she's expanding her range a little bit, but she's got a good set of wares. All right. Jayhan, Lord of Cats, painting all my cat models. Motivation again. So, Jayhan, my boy, I have no idea how many models you have. I have no idea how many are, taking up room on your shelves or whatnot. But what I would do is batch painting. Grab everything that you want to be a tabby. Grab everything that you want to be a Russian blue. Grab everything that you want to be Siamese or a ginger cat. And paint them all in batches. So you're doing one step at a time. It just makes life a lot easier. When I'm doing like an army of miniatures and it's all going to be the same color, basically, it's easier for me to do one color, do all the trousers, do all the boots, do all the armor on all of them in one go than it is to pick up one model and go, good, do the armor, do the clothes, do the cloth, do the weapon, do the highlighting, blah, blah, blah. Next model, do the armor, do the clothes, do the cloth, do the armor, do the weapon. Next model, do the weapon, do the boots, what am I doing? You get the idea. So batch paint, just get everything you need that's of a similar type and do it all at once in stages. You'll get through a lot faster and not want to go jump off the 5th story. Just saying, it'll help. Motivationally, I mean, hey, you like cats. You probably feel better when you see things done than not done, like anybody else. So those are my two little bits for you. Just batch paint and assembly line everything you're going to do, but break it down, do it in categories, and do similar things together. Saves a lot of time. Crazy crafting couple. Creating realistic urban scenes for dioramas. The short version, and this is a little tidbit I got, if you know who Luke's APS or Geek Gaming Scenics is on YouTube. It's the same person. They just kind of changed their name of the channel over a while. And they do professional wargaming terrain. They basically make boards and sell them. And he made a lot of videos over the past decade of how-to tips and tricks. He even has his own line now of materials. So you can actually buy, if you're looking for static grass, flock, foam, all kinds of different things, sealants, glues. They make and sell their own stuff now. And he did a video a couple years back, and it basically was meant to be, it looked like Stalingrad, and it was just MDF kits. It was a bunch of ruined MDF buildings of all different sizes. It kind of had the Gothic style arch windows look. And that's all it was. That's all he had. He was not doing all kinds of individual pieces of terrain. It was just those buildings. And he made like a 6x4 table. And he broke these up so they were damaged. This looked like a big bombed out cityscape. And literally, the thing he said, it was one of those blink and you'll miss it tips that was really what tied the whole board together. Was he literally got to the point where the buildings are all down, he's got sidewalks, and he's putting down foam, and he's putting down sculpt the mold and making kind of a landscape in and around the building. So that's done. And at this point, he literally starts making sheets of plaster. He's taking baking trays, like cookie sheets, and just pouring just casting plaster in these and thin little sheets, probably, I don't know, eighth of an inch thick at the most, and putting them all in a bag and smashing them to get a bunch of rubble. And then he just douses the board in glue, just PVA everywhere, and just pours this stuff all over the place. And then he puts in sands and flocks and all this. And the blink and you'll miss it bit was just don't worry about where it's going. If you're doing the type of cityscape I think you're doing, which is going to be ruined urban battlefield, then the key thing is just get your structures, get your basic buildings and your pieces, or if you're doing a battle mat and terrain, just get your scatter terrain, and load them the hell up with debris and greebles. Okay, I promised I would send you 2 links. I can't really do that in a podcast, so I'm gonna message you 2 links when this is all done, and you can go check these out. This is your homework. One's gonna be a video from Luke showing this Stalingrad city, so you see exactly what I'm talking about. The other one is from MS Paints. Dave over in the UK, he is a friend of Luke's. He is a friend of Geek Gaming Scenics, and he literally did a video making urban scatter out of pizza boxes. And you initially think about that without seeing this, and you go, how are you going to make interesting terrain out of pizza boxes? Well, he greebled them up like crazy. He added pipes. He added boarded up windows, rubble pieces, piles, burn effects here and there. He did all kinds of things, and it was for trash terrain, which is basically what that was. It actually looked really cool. It's one of my favorite tutorial videos. And between the two, just chaotically throwing stuff everywhere and adding little bits of detail simply, pipes, boards, rubble piles, blown out windows, ladders, whatever. You add all kinds of little detail and character to the scene and to the materials. And that really, when you're talking about a city, that's really what you want. Don't think about accessibility of the models so much. Don't think about looking symmetrical or perfect or having all this. When I say greebles, I'm talking about like, oh, there's a water pipe going out of the wall. There's window sills and trim around the windows. There's craters in and around. There's tons of broken stuff that looks like, a building actually fell in here. I'm not talking about buying a perfect Warhammer 40K kit that has skulls every 3.2 millimeters and is loaded with all kinds of Imperial detail. You don't need that. Someone can go buy that and it's just going to look the same as any other. You can make all the detail you want just by adding simple little things. And these videos show you how to do that really, really well. So I will message you those links. I hope that really helps. And if you guys want to talk further on that, obviously, just like I said, feel free to DM me. Junkpla, good buddy of mine. I'm going to be playing some Call of Cthulhu with him in a little bit. I just want to find the passion to build again. Another motivation point. Okay, so again, remember the purpose of why you were building models or why you were building kits. Why was it fun for you? Why was it entertaining? Was it to sell them? Was it just so you had a really impressive collection? Was it your favorite mobile suits and machines and action figures? What was that? I didn't necessarily say this on the other ones, but also just take a look for yourself and see, has this changed? You can absolutely fire up an old goal or an old purpose that you had and put some fire back into it so it works again. If that changed, if at some point you said, I don't really want to do this anymore, I want to go do this other thing, well, that would cancel that. That would invalidate that. And that would be your sign to go do the new thing. So take a look and see what decisions you made about that subject of building. Did you actually give up on it? Or did you really just get too busy and you want to do it? You just haven't organized the time and haven't figured out how to get back into it. Like, let me know what you run into on that, because it's probably one of the two. You either just need to build back up your purpose for doing the thing, or you made a decision to do something else and meant it. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's really where you're at. So just kind of figure out which it is and drop me a line. I'll help. Another one. This is from the Painter Flow. If you guys watch Wargamer Girl, Miranda, if you watch her live streams, Flo is pretty much her constant guest. She's always painting. She's a very, very talented mini painter. You can find her stuff on Instagram. And she just said, the ultimate question, what helps keep you motivated to work on your models? I literally give myself super tight deadlines to force myself to get stuff done. I know a lot of people can just, can't just do things my way. I mean, aside from batch painting, kind of like I said to Jahan, and aside from the whole thing of the purpose of why you're doing it, there's another factor entirely here. You paint minis like crazy. You are a commission painter. You are constantly painting miniatures, which means a significant portion of your day, your week, your month, your year is holding little plastic and metal figurines at a certain distance from you all the time and applying paint to them with a brush all the time at the exact same spot all the time. After a while, you get focused at that distance and your attention as a sort of a span point is stuck at that distance. There's a concept that people get tired because they are too heavily introverted. And I don't mean introverted as antisocial. I mean introverted meaning their attention is too stuck on something at a certain point or a certain time or a certain place. Okay? And the way you handle that, shortly and simply, is to unfix your attention from that thing or that place for a period of time and go do something totally different. If you stare at a computer screen all day long, how do you feel when you go outside and you just take a look at things further off? It's a nice day. There's people running around. There's dogs. There's cats. There's birdies, trees. The sun is out. Whatever, wherever you happen to be. How do you feel when you suddenly aren't staring at something 2 feet in front of you that's a bunch of numbers and letters? Probably better. That's why. So where you're concerned, if you're getting burnt out and you're just like, I am sick to death of painting, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing broken. You're not suddenly going to quit miniature painting. Go out and do something else for a little bit. Take a walk a half hour a day, every day. And just look at the things around you. Look at cars, billboards, signs, people, dogs, grass, trees, water, that plane making an ungodly racket up above, whatever. Just go and get your attention on something else or do something totally different. Go garden. Go work in your yard. Fix something around the house that takes a little more elbow grease and is a little bigger. Go handle something bigger. Move heavy stuff around. Literally just take some time. And obviously, yes, you have deadlines, and yes, you have, the factor of being under the gun sometimes. Just go do something else for a little bit every day. Do that for 2 weeks and see if you don't feel better when you pick up your paintbrush again. That's probably the most solid thing I can tell you, is just you have to remember to breathe and go do something else every once in a while. Or you do get stuck and you do get fixated and you are like, end me now. I can't paint another miniature. It does happen. So try it. See if that works. All right, guys. Well, those are all the questions I had. Obviously, if you have other questions, you want to go over something, you can find me on X, on Instagram, at Savage Brewski. You can drop me a line, one way or the other. Let me know if this helped you, or if you have another problem, or you want to talk one over, or you heard something and want to know more about it. Totally fine. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a really excellent New Year's Eve, and here's to a really great 2026. I'll catch you later. Happy New Year, guys.